After the attacks last Saturday in the southwest of Colombia in the Cauca department that left 21 people dead and over 50 injured, many people are speculating and have different opinions on who might be behind this attack and why was it executed in the way that it was, injuring only innocent civilians. Presidential elections in Colombia are coming up next month, and I've seen a lot of people saying that this attack was done to influence the results of these elections. Is that true though? Let's talk about it. According to Caracol en El Tiempo, FARC militants stopped traffic on the Pan American Highway before the bomb was detonated. People sitting in that roadblock were given this flyer. The flyer talks about the FARC's mission against neo-imperialism, against the United States, and the fact that Petro talked a lot about peace, but allowed the United States to build 3 new military bases in Colombia and allowed in 3,000 U.S. troops. So the hypothesis is that this roadblock was to attract Colombian military presence so that they could detonate the bomb and target the military. But due to other attacks in the region, the military did not show up in time and the bomb detonated, only injuring civilians. I posted a video about this recently and I saw a lot of comments with different opinions. People were saying that this is the responsibility of the right, that they want to get a right-wing president elected, so they're creating terror and danger to show that this leftist president is not doing his job. And a lot of people say, yeah, Petro's being way too lenient with these militias, and that's why we're seeing so much more violence in the country today, and we need different leadership. So the FARC did publish a flyer claiming responsibility for this attack and attempting to apologize for taking the lives of 21 people and injuring over 50. They said it was a mistake, that their only targets are military, and that in war mistakes happen and innocent civilians are the ones who get caught in the middle. And
so this is a paramilitary group here inside of Colombia. So why am I bringing this post up? Long story short, this is just a long history of stuff that's been happening here inside of, like Colombia. Interwars, civil wars, things like that. Wars between, narcos and the government, or if it's not narcos and the government, it's paramilitary groups and, other little factions and groups and things like that. So they basically try to send a message to the Colombian government to try to disinvolve the USA from inserting their own military into Colombia, right? And they ended up killing a lot of their own civilians. Now, this is very unfortunate. Rest in peace to the souls of those, those lives that were lost during this. But this is kind of one of those things that I like to bring up and mention. Like I said, there's a lot of killing and death that happens in this country. A lot of people die unnecessarily. It's been going on for a long time. It's probably going to continue to happen. And this is some of just the personal or inter-country conflicts that this country has consistently. And I just, not to continue to make this a deal, but I just think, how can you consistently have things like this happening in your country? And there is some mindset out there, there's some mentality out there that wants to blame foreigners on vacation for why the country is the way that it is. I think that, to me, to become a major campaign is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. And it's just this country consistently has interpersonal wars. Politicians are constantly being killed. Right, there's different levels of extortion that we just would not experience in the States, and the rising cost of living gets blamed on tourists and foreigners that are on vacation. Let us not forget, there's a whole political campaign that is bashing foreigners, or it's not that we're bashing foreigners, it's the type of foreigners. Gringo, go home. You guys are coming here for tourism, right? But foreign intervention is why a country like Colombia can be thriving, because a lot of the investors that come in here and build property and build businesses and really have real foreign investment in the country is sustaining a lot of the GDP, right? And this goes back into this conversation of, okay, tourism only brings in $2.5 billion every year to Colombia, but we didn't talk about foreign investment, right? And then we didn't talk about military intervention, where some of these wars, right, that are being fought in these countries, they need the US's help. But then you read the comments and the U.S. is only helping us so that they could get land and they can do this and they can do that, and we need to leave our country to ourselves. And I would understand if they were blaming politics and government and military for why their country turns out the way they do. But to put it on people on vacation because that's the easiest person to blame. And I've seen this guy make videos where he has done the same thing. It's like, how can you make this educated breakdown of what's going on in the country, but summarize that the reason your life is the way it is in that country is because of foreigners, or even focus on anything foreigners are doing? Oh yeah, but you guys come here and think you could just do whatever you want.
There needs to be a solution to end this war. They claim that they're a political group fighting for a political cause, and that the solution must be a political one. The typical story that they always say. So Colombia has always been very politically divided. Elections are always very sensitive, very tense. So we'll see how this continues, and I'll keep you guys updated. After the attacks last Saturday.
Yeah. I've seen him make a ton of videos focusing on Black Americans. Like, you know, like I said before, I don't really get how, you know, these wars are constantly these inter-country military guerrilla wars. And what this comes down to, chat, if we want to just break this down, you guys want to just, like, it's all for money and power, right? There's land. That land is being used to grow particular things, right? Colombia and Mexico are the biggest exporters of you know what. That's how they fund these operations. That's how they fund these operations. These guys are not doing real estate and, you know, investing in the stock market to get their money to fund these paramilitaries. Like, they're being funded by that, you know, that white stuff that comes out the ground. And even though I know it's not white when it comes out the ground, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what these wars are being fueled by, and this is why. And really, this is what these wars are being fueled by. Period. Like, that's it. Like, so the country's beautiful, but when you understand the dynamics and the interdynamics of how this country works, I just expect more accountability, right? Because I even see it in the comments. They're not blaming tourists right now in the comments, but now they're focusing on foreign government intervention and the fact that they're, you know, some of these people are killing their own civilians and saying, hey, man, that's just what happens in war. Collateral damage to citizens is not something that just casually happens in war. Right? Like, the U.S. doesn't send a bomb strike out and bombs like 40 people in San Francisco and says, hey, man, that's just what happens in war. Like, that's insanity. That's insanity. Right? These are the civil wars going on within the country. You don't attribute even any small percentage of what's going on in the country to the conflicts you're having. So yeah, man, the shit don't be making no sense to me at all. But, you know, pray for him, man. Pray for him. That's really the most that I could say. Let me see. So I won't give that clown any views. He talked-ish specifically about Black tourists coming to Colombia. I commented the same thing in one of the videos. How the fuck are you worried about a small group of men on vacation when there's people in their country getting blown up? Literally. Facts. Since last week, my uncle was telling me that Colombians are handing their country to the USA to take over. Anyone else heard about this? I haven't heard that, but after I saw Petro did a sit down with Trump and he's about to be out of office, I would not be surprised. Okay. I think slowly we're about to watch World War III unfold, and the US is just trying to position itself to the best place that it possibly can. Okay. So getting access to Venezuela was a big win. Getting access to Colombia, which I have heard China and Russia have been trying to get their hands on, is a big win as well. So if Colombia is handing themselves over to the U.S., I don't necessarily think that's what's going on. I don't think anyone in their country will tolerate that. That's actually one of the reasons why Panama was formed in the first place. Panama used to be a part of Colombia. So the fact that Panama used to be a part of Colombia and they broke apart because, you know, like the U.S. wanted to basically own some of that trade route for like the Panama Canal. That's somewhat how the story goes. You know, they, like I said, they're very prideful people, and they take pride in, you know, at least the idea that they are their own sovereign nation that's not dependent on anybody else. So I don't think they would outright just, you know, give themselves to the U.S., but there's probably definitely some business going on. Okay,